Number 1, consider the chance experiment in sample space on the previous page. Compute the following probabilities. Well, in class today, we considered the chance experiment of you had a bag, so let's draw our little bag. Inside of our bag, we had a blue A, a blue B, a C, a D, and then a red E and a red F. And then we also had a spinner that had 1, 2, and 3. And clearly each of those was likely, unlike my picture here. So, in class, we made a sample space that modeled this chance experiment. We said you can get an A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, C3, D1, D2, D3. If I randomly pick something from the bag and I spin a spinner, these are my possible outcomes. I can get an E1, an E2, or an E3, or an F1, an F2, or an F3. So those are my 18 possible outcomes for this chance experiment. So I want to know what's the probability of picking a red card. So the probability of red or picking an even. Probability of red or even. So I need to be red. And the keyword with or is I don't care as long as one of them is satisfied. So these are my red ones. That's 6. Evens adds on those two and those two because those have even numbers. Or I could pick a red one. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 18, which is a probability of 5/9. A little bit more than a half. Versus picking the probability of picking a red and an even. Red and even is a different probability. First I said or, which means I just need at least one of them. And means I've got to have both of them. Both of them have to be satisfied. I need a red, and I have to be even, so I'll do this in purple. So I'm limited to the reds, and I need an even one. Well, there's only two that are red and even, so that has a probability of 2 out of 18, or 1/9. What's the probability of not picking a blue? So the probability of not blue. The probability of not blue is, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 12 blue out of 18, so 6 out of 18. This is the same as the probability of picking a red. The probability of not blue is the same as the probability of picking a red. What's the probability of picking a green card? Well, there's only blue and red cards in the bag, so what's the probability of picking a green? 0. We discussed in class today that a probability of 0 means the event will never happen. The event will always happen if it has a probability of 1. So hopefully we got to review some of the basics of probability with this sample space here, of starting to work with the or, which means that either one has to be true. They both can be, but at least one of them. Well, and means both. We're also going to be working with nots a lot. Not means, well, let's find the probability that it happens and look at everything else. So the probability of not blue is the same as picking a red. 0 probabilities never happen. Probabilities of 1 mean it's always going to happen. Number 2, compute the following probabilities. The probability that it snows tomorrow is 0.62. We should get in the habit of saying the probability of snow is 0.62. 62% chance of snow. What's the probability that does not snow? So the probability of not snow, well, the probability that it snows is 62%. Well, what's the probability it does not snow? What's everything else? That's going to be 38%, or 0.38. The probability of picking someone in the United States with asthma is 20%. So the probability of asthma equals 0.20 or equals 20%. Doesn't matter which one you use. We can use decimals, fractions, or percents. What's the probability of not picking someone that does not have asthma? So the probability of not asthma, well, if 20% chance you pick someone with asthma means there's an 80% chance that they don't, or 0.80. So, if we know the probability of event A occurring, if we know P of A, what's the probability of not A? Well, the probability of not A is 1 minus the probability of A. The probability of not A, put the A there. The probability of not A is everything else. Because 1 is the probability of something happening. Something will always happen if the probability is 1. And either A happens or not A happens. So 1 minus P of A gives us the probability of not A.